Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into something that, let's be honest, affects millions of us every single day, our educational experience. We're going to explore a new way of learning that's designed to completely transform the classroom, not just for students, but for teachers too. So let's get right into it.
All right, let's start with a quick question for all the students watching. Have you ever been in this situation? You're in a big class, maybe 40 or 50 other kids. The teacher's explaining something and you just don't get it. Do you put your hand up? Do you risk feeling like you're slowing the whole class down? Or do you just stay quiet? It's a really frustrating spot to be in, and it happens all the time.
And now for the teachers out there. Just imagine for a second. What could you do if someone just gave you an extra 12 hours every week? Seriously, think about all that time you spend on nights and weekends creating lesson plans, making worksheets, designing quizzes. What would it mean for your teaching and for your own life to get that time back? Now, this is where it gets really eye-opening and honestly a little bit shocking. In a standard classroom, a staggering 70% of the questions students have, they just go unanswered. That's not a tiny little crack in the system, that is a massive gap in the learning process, and it's the source of so many of the problems we're going to talk about. So this brings us right to the heart of the matter, what we can call the everyday education struggle. It's this daily grind that's felt by both the students trying to keep up and the teachers trying to make sure no one falls behind. So for students, here's what that reality looks like. You're sitting in those big classes we mentioned, and you end up wasting, believe it or not, 3 to 5 hours every single week just trying to find answers online or waiting to ask the teacher the next day. This isn't just a waste of time, It leads to real frustration, real burnout, and slowly but surely, those little things you didn't understand start to become huge learning gaps. And on the other side of that, teachers are dealing with an incredible burden. We already talked about those 12+ hours a week just on prep. Well, that leaves them with basically zero time for the thing that matters most, one-on-one attention. They often have no real way of knowing who's falling behind until the test scores come back. And by then, let's be real, it can be too late to make a difference. Okay, so we've laid out the problem, but what's the solution? Well, it's something we all kind of intuitively know is the absolute gold standard for learning, and that's the power of personal attention. In the world of education research, there's this famous concept called the 2 sigma advantage. It sounds technical, but the idea is actually really simple. Study after study has shown that a student who gets one-on-one tutoring performs 2 standard deviations better than their peers. Now, what does that actually mean? It means you can take a perfectly average student right in the 50th percentile, and with that personal attention, they can jump all the way up to the 98th percentile. It's an absolute game changer. But of course, that leads to the big, obvious problem. We can't hire a personal tutor for every single student in the world. It's just not possible. It's way too expensive. So the real question becomes, how can we give that proven 2 sigma advantage to every single student, everywhere, in a way that actually works? And this is exactly where a platform like Avyra comes in. It uses AI to try and close that gap. Let's take a look at how it actually works, how it builds a system that can act like a personal tutor for every single learner. Okay. Let's take a super common scenario, the late-night homework problem. Before, if a student gets stuck on a tough trigonometry question at 10:30 at night, well, they're just stuck. They have to wait. But with an AI tutor, they can literally just snap a picture of the problem on WhatsApp and get instant step-by-step help right there. That roadblock is gone in seconds. But it goes so much deeper than just giving out answers. It's all about adapting to what each student needs. So let's imagine a student, we'll call her Rhea. Say she's having a tough time with fractions. The system actually picks up on that and starts giving her simpler examples, a little extra practice, just to help her build that solid foundation she needs. Now, in that exact same class, you've got Arjun. For him, fractions are a piece of cake. So instead of him getting bored and zoning out, the system sees that he's mastered it and immediately gives him more advanced problems to keep him engaged and challenged. So Rhea gets the support she needs, and Arjun gets the challenge he needs. No one gets left behind, but no one's held back either. And that, right there, is the core idea of what we call adaptive learning. It's all about delivering the right kind of help at just the right level at the exact moment a student needs it. It's what makes learning truly personal for everybody. All right, let's switch gears back to the teacher. Remember those 12 hours a week? Let's talk about the content creation problem. Before, a teacher could easily spend their entire Sunday afternoon creating materials for a new geometry unit. With Avyra, they just type in the topic, and the system instantly generates more than 10 different kinds of content. Their weekends are suddenly their own again. And look at what they get. It's not just a basic worksheet. A teacher types in quadratic equations, and in a single click, boom, they get quizzes at 3 different difficulty levels, chapter summaries, flashcards for revision, homework, even educational games. It's an entire toolkit, created in seconds instead of hours. So, when you put all of these pieces together, what do you get? Well, it's not just about a new app or a new tool. It's about creating an entirely new reality for what learning can actually feel like. For students, the whole emotional journey can flip. That awful feeling of being lost and frustrated, it gets replaced by confidence, by a feeling of being in control. When you know help is always there, right when you need it, learning becomes something that empowers you, not something that intimidates you. And for teachers, it's a very similar and very powerful transformation. They go from being completely overwhelmed by all the busy work to being truly empowered. They finally have the time and, just as importantly, the insights to focus on what they actually love to do, which is teach and connect with their students. This table really just lays it all out perfectly. Before, students' doubts went unanswered. Now they get help 24/7. Before, learning was one size fits all. Now it adapts to them. And for teachers, they go from being buried in content creation to having time for real one-on-one support. They go from guessing who needs help to getting real-time insights. It's a night and day difference. And that's what I want to leave you with. Just think about this for a second. What happens to a classroom, to a school, even to an entire country when every single student gets the personal attention that they need and deserve to really thrive? What kind of potential could we unlock then? That is the really exciting question. Thanks so much for watching.